All right, looks okay. So we are live. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today in our second restarted series of Word of Mouth Wednesday. And today I am here with Courtney Bowles. Hey, Courtney, thank you for joining us today. Uh,
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So, if you have, or if you saw our previous session or our previous interview that we did last week with Jennifer, we talk with our fellow business owners across the country as what they do, what kind of work they do, and how they can impact you. And so, today's discussion, today's talk with Courtney is all about insurance. She does a lot of work in the insurance side of things, and me being a non-insurance person don't want to butcher any of it, so I will let Courtney introduce herself, her work, what she does, and then once she is done I will post her contact information in case anybody is interested to contact her directly. So Courtney, all yours.
Thank you, Shub. So, my name is Courtney Bowles, and I work for RMC Group, which is essentially a risk management company, hence the RMC.
RMC, okay.
Clever, huh? Um,
Right.
and so, we help businesses and individuals, but primarily businesses, manage their risk. And that's actually how Shub and I connected and found synergy because I'll be honest, when I first set up the virtual coffee with you, I was like, oh, great, an IT guy.
Right.
I don't know where this is going to go. Um, but like Jen mentioned last week, sometimes you just need to talk to people because as soon as I started talking to you and you talked about what you do with binary text, I was
Hmm.
like, oh, he's not really one of those SEO optimization kind of guys.
Right.
He's doing exactly the same thing I am, protecting companies just from a different way. Um,
Right. And that's the one thing, right? When we talk about like, hey, what do you do, and if I tell anybody that, hey, I work or I own an IT business, that's a very generalized way of saying it. And maybe that's one thing I should change about my introduction too, that I shouldn't say I'm doing an IT work, rather I should say I do cybersecurity and risk management in technology solution for businesses, because that, I think that kind of really narrows down what I do. Because you're right, if I say IT, it can be interpreted as anything, SEO management, a digital marketing, a social media strategy, anything. So, yep, that's a great point. Thank you for that tip.
Absolutely. Or we can tell people that both you and I protect the American dream.
Oh, that's even better. Hey, I'm gonna steal that line actually now. I'm just gonna put it on my company's banner, binary text protecting the American dream. That just flows so good.
um, it's cheesy, but sometimes people are like, why are you in insurance? And I know the same with IT.
Yeah.
Generally, those are two careers that when you tell people at parties that's what you do, they're like, oh, I got to go over here and talk to someone
Right?
more cool. Um, but things go wrong. And
Oh,
if there's one
absolutely.
thing we've seen this year, it's that things go wrong.
Way
Um,
wrong. But this here is like a prime example of why you should be protecting your business, how you should be protecting your business, and no one's business is secure today. Everybody's business can be impacted. Everybody's business can be something that can take a giant hit or can even get to the point of getting closed.
oh, yeah.
So
Um,
yeah, I mean that's a great point. And just to talk a little bit more about what you do. So how do you and the company like work to do the risk management process?
Sure. So one of the things that we like to do with companies is we will look at your current insurance program and see what you have. And then we can go through and point out things that you may not have known were excluded because your
Okay.
typical insurance policy is about 2 pages of coverage and 20 pages of things that they're not going to cover. Um,
Right.
the insurance company is designed to protect you, but it's also designed to make a profit for themselves.
Right.
And so they are not going to cover everything. And they have conditions as well on what they'll cover. So certain things, it doesn't matter what you do, they're not going to cover that. Other
Absolutely.
things, it has to meet a certain condition. And one of those, for example, is failure to maintain. So if they look
Hmm.
at, so for example, if we look at your cyber insurance policy, which fingers crossed, if you're a business, you have a cyber insurance policy, because no matter how well you do your job,
Right.
things can
You're
still
not
go wrong.
100% protected, right? You're not 100% covered on anything and everything today.
No, no one is. It's the same reason, my kitchen's back there. I try and do a good job and not set things on fire, but I still have a fire extinguisher. Just in
Exactly.
case.
Right.
And more so than that, I have renter's insurance in case I burn down the whole apartment. And if
Right.
anybody's seeing me in the kitchen, that's a possibility.
Exactly.
So anyway, with insurance, hopefully you have a cyber insurance policy, but if we look at it, one of the conditions may be failure to maintain. And essentially that says if you have an attack and the insurance company looks at what you've been doing to protect your system and doesn't
Mhm.
see that you've done anything, they may say your claim is denied.
And
Simply,
that's a very important and very, very great point. So people who are listening right now, if you have questions, definitely, feel free to drop them in the comments. But Courtney just said a very important point. A lot of insurance companies today will deny your claim based on the negligence they find in your day-to-day business operation, business process. So if you do not have proper data backups, data redundancies, up to date antivirus, or proper technology solutions in place, the companies can say that, we understand, we are sorry it happened to you, but you were not 100% on your game. So we are not going to entertain this claim. And it happens more often than you can imagine. Yeah.
which is unfortunate because people are paying for coverage, but then they're not doing their things to uphold their half of the contract.
Right.
So it doesn't matter that they're paying for coverage.
Exactly.
Another thing that we see sometimes in insurance policies that people don't realize isn't covered is if you get one of those ever popular phishing emails that says, "Hey, Shub, this is Courtney, your coworker, and I need you to wire money to this account."
Hmm.
And it looks like it comes from me. It's got my email. It's all set up, with my signature.
Yep.
And you wire the money to the account. It doesn't matter what your cyber policy is. That is not going to be covered. And the bank is going to say, "I'm sorry, you sent money to another
Willingly.
account."
Right.
That's it.
Yeah, fair enough. And again, same thing. And I did this a webinar on this a while ago about the human error in the cybersecurity world, and almost 90%, and that's a staggering number. 90% of issues that happen due to human error are not covered. I mean, because as much as you want to say that, hey, I did everything, or I was, fooled into it, or however you want to put it, the companies are there to protect themselves too. You may be saying it willingly, and you may be saying it, I'm sorry, correctly, and you may have actually been a victim of it, but then there are also a certain segment and portion of people who might have done this willingly, and now they're trying to just cover their bases. So I can see the dilemma in that, where the insurance companies have to deny that. But at the same time, that's why I, as from the cybersecurity perspective, I push a lot to people that do staff training, have the tools in place, make sure things are good, make sure have the cybersecurity insurance policy in your business operations model, so that that you are, like, you're covering your bases, right? You cannot be 100% protected, but you're reducing your risk significantly by adding different, like, front lines to your defense.
Yes. Recently with COVID, they've talked about the mask, and I've seen them use a diagram that's kind of the layers of Swiss cheese.
Yep.
So distancing is one layer, the mask is one layer, reducing your time around people is another layer. None of them are foolproof, but the more layers you have. So if you work with Shub and Binary Text and get a system set up and get your actual systems evaluated, that's a way to do it. If you work with a training company and design training software for your employees so that they understand what the risks are, and then you can work with someone like me and we can set up insurance policies. And the other thing that my company does and that I specialize in is alternative risk strategies, because
Okay.
the traditional insurance market, like I said, is designed to profit the traditional insurance market.
Yep.
And if you've seen any stadiums, soccer teams, it's a profitable business.
Oh yeah.
Um, they're not losing money for the most part. And right now they are pushing to make even more money on their underwriting profit, which is driving up rates. So what a lot of people have found is that just buying an insurance policy from the market isn't enough.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's got too many exclusions, and or it's prohibitively expensive for what they're getting. So one alternative risk strategy that you can do, and this is the one I specialize in, is you can actually set up your own insurance company for your business. Now,
Oh wow. Okay.
there's economies of scale. So typically you want to be 10 million in revenue or more to look at it. But
Mm-hmm.
if you hit that level, then you can do what, unbeknownst to most of us, 90% of Fortune 500 companies are doing: create your own insurance company and protect your own risk. And one of the things that we could help you write in a captive, it's called a captive insurance company, because you're
Okay.
capturing your own risk, not because you're
Right.
keeping hostages somewhere. um,
Hope not.
no, that would be a
Yeah. That's a whole
big
different
no.
kind of risk you're exposing yourself to.
Yes. But if you set up a captive insurance company, you can write what's called a difference in conditions policy.
Okay.
So I can help you set up a policy that says, okay, here's all those exclusions and conditions in my commercial policy. Let's insure those through my captive insurance company. You can also take on bigger deductibles, which oftentimes will reduce your premium from the commercial market, and
Mm-hmm.
put a deductible reimbursement policy into your captive.
So basically, what's not covered through commercial and all that, you can do it through your own setup.
Yes.
Okay. Well, that's, and again, reducing the risk, right? Basically, just making yourself more protected, having that layer of protection around your business as much as you can. That's basically uh, the whole end goal here is to keep yourself as protected as possible.
Yes.
Right. And so one question, and this came off to me from one of my contacts on LinkedIn a while back. And this lady, she works for an insurance company, but the insurance owner is planning to sell the company or retire. I don't exactly remember the scenario. So if you are an insurance company owner or an insurance company employee and you are in that situation where your ownership is going to change or retire, can they convert that business and be the owner of that? Is that something you help with, or is that like a different process?
Depends if they're owning an insurance company or owning an insurance brokerage. More
Okay.
typically, it would be a brokerage, but for example, the captive insurance companies that I help people set up, that is a privately owned insurance company, you
Mm-hmm.
can transfer the ownership of that. If you get to a point in your career where you're going to retire or you're getting out of the business, then you can take that book and you can either sell the company entirely, or
Okay.
you can sell the runoff liability to someone else and transfer it.
Oh, wonderful.
So you're
So you
not,
you basically have a way out of it, like just in case you decide like, hey, I'm done with my business, or at this point I want to pass on the business to the next person in the company, or even like, some people pass their businesses to their kids and all that. So you can pass the whole thing over.
yes. And you can set it up in a way that your kids can be involved. If your company is set up that way, particularly, there
Hmm.
are different things you can do. Um,
Wonderful.
I am not a CPA by any stretch. And so one of the key things that we do, again, going on the, you want to protect yourself from all areas. If you're going to
Yeah,
set up an insurance company, I can help you with the risk. You need to talk to your attorney and your CPA about the tax implications, because anytime you do anything in business, there's tax implications.
absolutely.
And you
Absolutely.
probably want to talk to your succession planner, because hopefully you're planning for the day that you no longer have to work
Right.
or don't work.
All needs to align together to make sure that kind of, it works hand in hand for everything.
Yes. One thing I did want to mention, because sometimes
Yeah.
people ask me, okay, so why don't I just set money aside? What's the benefit of setting up a formal insurance company?
Oh yeah. And actually I
Rather,
was going to ask you that question next. Like, what about if I just like put some money in the bank and just forget about it?
You can do that. Couple different things that don't happen there. One is the tax treatment. There are benefits to having it as an insurance company because money set aside to pay losses, reserves, is considered and treated differently than just a fund that you have. You can't tell the IRS, this is my reserve fund, if it's just a
Right.
savings. It
Makes
has
sense.
to be actually reserve premium. And then in addition, depending on the size of the insurance company you've set up, there are provisions in the tax code that you can put in the premium up to 2.3 million. And then you don't pay tax on that. And then it comes
Okay.
out at a capital gains rate. So that's very beneficial to smaller businesses. That doesn't work for the
Yeah.
Fortune 500 companies. It's not a
Right.
reason to do the captive, but it helps people with smaller businesses make it more efficient to them. It's similar to how the government rewards me for having an HSA. They
Okay.
want to protect the American dream. They want to protect me because the more I save and protect myself, or the more the business saves and protects themselves, the less the government presumably has to step in and help.
Right. No, that makes so much more sense. And so the only other question I have for you, so the captive insurance process, you said that it's for companies that have like a revenue of around up to like $10 million and above or around, right? What about companies that are smaller, like the small businesses, like if they are touching $1 million or are smaller than that or are between 1 million and $10 million? What kind of strategy would work for them? Like, is the captive insurance a good idea for them?
Typically, a traditional captive insurance company is not going to be, just because there are costs to set up and run the captive insurance company. My
I see.
company, RNC Group, does captive management because it's highly regulated and you don't want to do it yourself. You're already running a successful business, you don't want to get into insurance any more than you want to get into IT security. Um,
Exactly.
you can get in real trouble doing it yourself.
Okay.
Because most people simply don't know and don't want to know all the insurance regulations that go along with it. So we can help
Right.
you. If you're a smaller company, there are some options. You could potentially do a cell captive, which is sort of like a captive insurance company is like building your own single family home. A
Okay.
cell captive is like buying a condo. You have some
Okay.
shared group expenses, and then you don't have quite the same flexibility like we talked about selling it. If it comes to
Yeah.
succession, you can't just sell it. But there
So
are
like a
options.
partner insurance kind of thing, like couple of, or can like a couple of businesses combine together and form a captive insurance company?
Um, they can. Most of the time, people don't want to share
Right.
that kind of risk that closely, but I have seen it done. I've seen
Okay.
a group of dentists get together in a certain geographic area.
Yeah.
Another thing that I've seen done is franchises will do it.
Mhm.
So might
Oh,
be a smaller business, but if it's part of a larger franchise, then sometimes the franchise head will set it up and the smaller companies can be part of it. For smaller companies, probably the best thing you can do is to have someone like us look at your policies.
yep.
We may not have an alternative like a captive, but at least you will understand what is protected and what is not. The
Wonderful.
worst thing that can happen is for you to find out, oh no.
Yeah, exactly. And you don't want to get in that oh no moment, especially when you have so many business owners, so many businesses like yourself willing and ready to help the other business owners out and just prevent you from that oh no moment, right? I mean, that's like a very very core thing that I have been seeing, that, and especially I'm just talking from the cybersecurity world, is if somebody gets to that portion, or to that situation where they get hacked or where their systems are compromised or something of that sort, and that's at that point, if you're saying oh no, it's a little too late. I mean, you can be recovered, you can potentially be secured again, and maybe if you're lucky your data was not stolen. But if you had taken those steps maybe a couple of months ago, you would not have had that situation.
Yes. And one of the advantages, if you're a business owner and we've looked at you and we've helped you understand your policies better,
Hmm.
you can make decisions knowing I don't have coverage for that.
Right, exactly. You know the gaps then, right? I mean, you're getting that education that you need to make sure that you're completely protected.
Yeah, and then as a business owner, you can say, you know what, I'm not going to let my employees do this, or I'm not going to offer this online credit card payment because I'm worried about X, Y, and Z. But
Right.
much better to know. And sometimes business owners say, you know what, I know the risk. I'm going to informed, go ahead. That's a good thing to do too. It's
Yeah.
fine to take the risk if you know what
Hmm.
you're getting into. Um,
Exactly.
and then another thing you can do if you're a small business owner that we can help you with is you can figure out ways that, okay, I don't have coverage for that. It might happen, but how can I minimize the damage if it does? Uh,
Yes.
because it's one thing to have a loss, it's another thing to have a loss that shuts down your company for 3 months. And
Oh,
some of that is
absolutely.
knowing what's going to happen if we
Absolutely.
have a loss.
Yep, I totally 100% agree with you on that. And that is unfortunately, that is a sad truth with a lot of companies that happens, that they get in that difficult situation where they knowingly or unknowingly did not have the right protection to cover themselves, be it insurance, be it technology, anything, right? It could be anything. And the bill is so big that they have to liquidate everything and they just have to close. And as a business owner for whom the my business is so near and dear to me, I can only imagine what a heartbreaking situation that would be, where you have to close the dream that you were building. So again, rather be careful and work on things early on, be preemptive about those things and secure yourself than being sorry later on.
Yeah, not in the cyber world, but I can give you an example. So if you're running a factory and
Mm-hmm.
you have a fire, one of the ways that you can mitigate the amount of damage that's done, not necessarily the amount of damage the fire did, but the amount of time that your factory shut down. If you've already talked to a local nearby factory and you know that there's somebody that can run your product on their line after hours,
Mm-hmm.
well then, okay, you're going to be shut down. You're going to have to pay them extra, but at least you're not going to be completely closed. And
Right.
by knowing that ahead of time and having it already kind of tentatively set up, you save 2, 3 week, a month of lost
Oh
revenue.
yeah, easily,
You're
easily.
already dealing with it when something has already gone wrong.
Yep, exactly. And exactly, yep, the same point, right? Including like on the cybersecurity side, like, hey, if you have the proper system protection and everything, so God forbid in a situation you get hacked or anything, you know there's line of defense that's going to protect you. You know that you are not going to, even if all your systems go down, it's not going to be like weeks and weeks and weeks of ordeal. You know that there are backups, there are things that can protect you. There will be some downtime, but you'll be up and running in no time, and you can restart, rebuild that evaluation that you have lost in such incidents, and then kind of work from there. However, if you don't have any of that, who knows how long it's going to take for you to come back, or even if you can come back.
Yeah, I mean, just look at 2020. The companies that had already prepared, who might have had 1 or 2 employees working from home, but at least
Yep.
knew how to set up people from home,
Yeah.
were ahead of the game as opposed to companies who only did the 9 to 5 in the office and suddenly had to go, wait, we have to
Exactly.
figure this out. And we've
Yep.
never done it before.
Hmm. And that's a very good point, because I was talking to one of the companies in Minnesota who did remote work for the first time in 26 years of their company this year due to COVID, and they are almost 100% certain that they did not put it correctly. Like, they know that they have actual loopholes and issues that they need to remediate, and they just can't do anything right now because everybody is so overwhelmed, so overtired, loaded with work and dealing with personal life and everything, that right now everybody is just trying to survive.
Yeah.
Right.
I
And
grew up,
so, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I grew up in Florida, and the worst time to find out that you need your roof repaired or your tree trimmed is post hurricane
Oh, yep.
because you can't get those people to your house. So, again, if you can look at it ahead of time, you're
Yep.
better off.
Exactly. Totally, totally agreed. Totally makes sense. And I know we can go over and over on so many different scenarios. We have so many things in common. So I know if we continue to talk, it can be a 6 hour long session and we'll still have examples. So there you have it, guys. You heard it from Courtney. Protect your business, protect yourself. Here is her information that I am displaying right now on the system, and it should show up. And if you have questions, talk to her. Listen, connect with her, ask her questions, see if your business has any, if your business has gaps. If your business has any area of improvement. What's the only thing that could happen is that Courtney can say, no, you are good and protected, or she can tell you that these are the 5 things you need to improve. And then at least that gives you the plan forward as how you can save yourself and keep your business secure. And of course, from the technology side, if there's something you need, you can always contact me, count on us to help you with the technology side of it. But I would highly recommend connecting with Courtney and getting your business insurance checked, your insurance policies reviewed and confirmed. And Courtney, correct me if I'm wrong, but is there any fees to do any kind of those reviews for those policies?
No, the review is free. So
So
it's
even better, you are gonna get the plan forward completely free of charge. So talk to Courtney, see how she can help you. Her contact information is shared. It will be in the comments as well of these videos, and I can provide her link to her Facebook and LinkedIn as well in the comments.
yeah, I'm on both
Connect
of
with
them.
her.
Really easy to find.
Yeah, exactly. Connect with her and see how she can help you. And again, Courtney, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing all this wonderful information. A lot of that was new information to me as well. So I really appreciate you coming here.
Thank you, Shub. I appreciate the chance to talk to you about what can go wrong
Thank you.
and how both of us can help with it.
Absolutely. All right. So thank you so much, Courtney. And thank you, everyone who was watching us live. And again, if you have any questions after the session, please definitely reach out to us. We will be more than happy to answer them for you. And have a great rest of the week and hopefully a really good weekend for everyone.
Thank you. Bye,
All right.
everybody.